Hey there, everybody. So today we're going to work on Chapter 8, and we'll do the typical routine of just doing solutions on the assigned exercises. You know what? And this one gives us a grid to go off of. So first things first, we'll go in our snap settings, and each grid unit should be a 1/2 inch. So that one's already set. We'll do this one. And then make sure major line every is set to 1 and you got your grid limits on. Just so you can make sure that, you're drawing it with limits in mind. And let's see, we'll start about right here, I guess. Make sure ortho's on. And then it's going to be 11 units over, but because it's a 1/2 inch, you can actually say that it's 11 divided by 2, which is 5.5. And in that same vein, we know it's 6 up, aka 3 units. I'll draw on that little cutout in a minute. And then we know that it's 2 from the end, that slant on both ends. And it is 3 over to here, and I'll just trim out the excess so I don't have to waste time trying to fight my snaps. Okay, so the next part it says is to use linear dimensions and then line dimension as well. So we'll just dimension the straight lines first, and then the last one we'll do will be that line value. It does say to change the dimension decimal value also, so we'll go ahead and do that. So I went to annotate panel, hit the little arrow, modify, and then in primary units we will change that from 0000 to 00. Okay, so now as we slap these in, they will have the proper decimal value. So I'm just going to go through, slap these in, and I would advise, like I'm doing here, snap to the other dimensions in order to keep them perfectly in line. It's a little more clear whenever you're taking the time to actually align things. So then we've got this value, and yeah, that's actually it for exercise 1. So let's flip on over to the next one. This one's going to be covering baseline dimensions mostly. In the same vein, we're actually going to do more grid drawing. So I'll do the same changes again and do 1/2 inch here. We've got the 1/2 inch there. And then turn on your grid snap. And let's start a little further over. Let's do 4 again. Okay, so it's 3 units over, 1 unit up, 3 over, 1 up, 4 over, 2 up, and then this part's symmetrical, so I can actually just kind of look at the other one and keep drawing now. Go just a little faster. Okay, and then we have from the middle, which if you don't have your snap set right, you may end up getting that midpoint on nonstop or endpoint. That's okay. You know what? We'll start one over and just trim it. But so from the edge here, it'll be 4 over, 2 down, and back across. So now I'll just trim this. Okay, so then we'll do the points, which are 1 over, and change this to hidden. Let's see. You know what? I didn't realize it, but this line should extend all the way across. Okay. So now we'll do our center line. I'm gonna turn off the snap first. It's getting a little irritating. I'm just going to choose 2 lines. I'm still going to have to manually adjust it, but now it's a great time to have midpoint. So make sure you're grabbing the square grips. Pull those to the end extents of the part. And we will be doing baseline dimension here. Which I'm not seeing. Let's see if it's on the annotate tab here. There we go. Okay. So it says dimension the top half and bottom half, basically. Okay, so this will be our base one. Then I believe we'll just choose this. Okay, that's fine. Select base dimension. Oh, you know what? I believe you have to add one first. I'm going to use this one a lot in AutoCAD. Pretty clutch in Inventor, though. I used the wrong layer. Let's change that. Okay, baseline. Yeah, okay. So once you have put down a dimension, then choose baseline, it automatically grabs that first selection. And then I can click here, and here. Okay. And hit escape. And then it says to use continue. I can't say that I'm actually familiar with it, but let's see how it works here. We can just click here, 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 and here. So I did them all on the top. Let's undo that. Okay, so how about we do another dimension like we did before. Let's do continue after that. Excuse me. Yeah, so once you hit continue, what it does instead is it dimensions the next portion. We can click as we go, doing the same process down here. And you know, you're not really supposed to dimension the hidden lines, but you know, if you want to include that in here, that's fine too. You know, I'm just gonna slap one in here generically so that it's out of our way. But you know, I'm not gonna nitpick how you go about that one. I actually don't really like dimensions being on the model either, but since you have dimensions on both sides, you're kind of trapped here. And then, you know, in the same vein, I don't think it says, it doesn't, but, you know, if you want to change the units to save a little space, 2 units is clearly fine. Really, 1 unit's fine because you only have up to 0.5 regions here. So that looks a lot better, obviously, versus that. So, okay, moving on. We got another grid drawing. All right, so exercise 3 is going to be the same way. So we'll start over and do the snap settings as we did before. Oh, but you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, we actually need to have our snap spacing able to go down to a half unit because, you know, technically sometimes these lines are 1/4 inch apart instead of the 1/2 inch that our grid is. Okay, so let's put on our ortho. And we'll start it, let's see, how about at 4:4. Okay, so we will do 5 units over, which is 2.5. And then it's going to be 2 units to the right. Make sure your polar's on. And then 1/2 unit up. I know if you're having problems with the snap, in the past I've had issues. Sometimes you need to turn off your object snap tracking because it wants to project all these different things. And if you're having issues still, turn off intersections. This one I've turned them off because, you know, in the past I've struggled with. Sometimes, you know, AutoCAD thinks it knows what you want, but it doesn't. Okay, so Now we need to go 2.5 unit up. And let's see here. We've got the next one is going to be 2 units to the right. And 1 unit up. Make sure your polar's on. I always double check. You see what happened there? Same thing I was just talking about. It wants to just do what it wants sometimes. For the sake of testing, I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's see if it would snap right to it. Yeah. So, you know, check those angled ones. For whatever reason, it's easier actually to, you know, from this end, start here and draw over, because then it actually can't try to project it based off your earlier line. But, you know, sometimes there's some quirks. System's not perfect. We'll do 1 over, 1 unit up, and, you know, that's going to be the first portion of it. We'll mirror the rest of it after we do this. So we'll jump back over here, and it's going to be 1 unit up, and it appears we may have the same problem. Keep an eye out when you're looking at your dimensions. Mine was showing 5.006, which means that it had already snapped wrong. Be very cautious drawing these slanted lines. So, that being said, I'll jump back into it and go 1/2 inch over and 3 units over. And I'm going to play it cautious. Instead of trying to draw and it potentially ruining my life again, I'll start over on this side. So it's going to be 2 units over and 2 units up. So 1, 2. We'll snap, and then it's 1 unit up to the end, and this line should connect perfectly here. Now this isn't the center. But what I can do is mirror, let's see, this portion across this line. Well, let's see. We'll have to mirror and move it, but still, it'll be less work. Okay, so like I'll mirror it, and I missed the line, but that's fine. You can still see what I'm going for here. I'll delete this. I'm going to move this into place. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but in the end, it does line up. We've got our line there, no duplicates. I actually didn't need that line I copied, but we saved from having to draw that whole thing again. Okay. So the next thing we need is some angle dimensions here. So, first and foremost, I would definitely get the units to show 2 decimals only, if you don't have it set to that already. And hop on the dimension layer. And you know, actually, had I had the foresight, I would have put the dimensions in and then mirrored it, so I wouldn't have to do all that again. But, you know, sometimes hindsight's 20/20. So, we'll just slap all these in. Although it seems silly to do every angle, you know, we'll do it to humor the bug. Technically, there's really better ways to go about this. I'm going to do complementary angles here, probably, just because of space. And it's still pretty gross. We'll do it like that. I don't like it, but, you know. Again, this is kind of a space-consuming way to go about it. And, you know, depending on which option you choose first is what it chooses to flip. Actually, kind of like that. Let's see if we can do the same with this one. Yeah, let's do that. Not too bad. And I hate it, but it's definitely better than the other options. If you're trying to make something look pretty, this isn't exactly what you would call Model S, that's for sure. Okay, so we're casually slapping in dimensions. Sometimes lines don't like to pay attention and tell themselves I'm clicking them. Pretty straightforward, you know, just click, click. As long as you click those 2 lines, it'll give you that. And technically, you can use this dimension tool, and it would do the same. It's just it tends to be very versatile. So you know, you get a lot of selections out of it because of that. And I'm going to do a complementary angle here and do outside to save space. But you know, because that tool does so much, it'll snap to endpoints and midpoints, and you know, it's easier for stuff like this just to go ahead and use the actual angle dimension. Again, this is kind of a scene, but you know, we're committed to the rules of the book. All right, so there's all of our dimensions in all of their entirety. So let's see which one's next here. Next we have exercise 4. And it's also drawn on the grid. Man. Wrong template, that's okay. I like to do most of these on a B, it just seems to be pretty perfect. Okay. Change our units again. Start about right here. It appears to be 12 units, so 8. Okay. Now we can draw our circles. This one is going to be 2 from each end. We'll just copy that. And it's going to be, it appears the same position everywhere, so that's kind of convenient. I'll double check that. Okay, cool. And again, we need to have this snap set to 0.25 for these little holes. Okay, so 1 unit over from this end is the center. So there's that guy, and then I'm just going to copy it down and over. I mean to tell you, this tracking is getting old. Well, we'll just turn off tracking for a minute. How's that? Okay, so down and over 1. It's going to keep being down and over 1, so we can just casually click. And just to make sure that tracking is not messing with us, we'll just select each of these and go through. All of them look like they line up. Cool. Okay, so next, it says to do ordinate dimensioning. And you know, it might be here. I like to try to stay on this panel if I can, just because this is where all your goods are. Specify feature location. Okay. So this is going to be our starting point, I believe. Let's double check that and see though. Undo. So I'm trying to specify these are our datum points, but let's just see if that works out as intended. So we just did, crap, I can't remember which one I hit. So this should be 4, 3, and that's 3, 4. Okay. So let's see now if it goes through and dimensions these like it should. Cool. Cool. Okay. So, one thing I would advise you to do, besides putting these on the correct layer, which I did not do, is to put center marks in. Ah, wrong layer. You know what? I'm actually sitting here thinking, I believe you don't even have to specify datum. I think I can choose here. And then if I immediately just go ahead and do another one, it does. Okay. So ignore what I said about those dimensions. We'll get to that. But for now, put on the center marks. The reason being is, obviously when you're detailing, you shouldn't just have random holes. I know it doesn't show it in the book, but you've got to have center marks. How else do you know that it's actually a true circle, So let's slap these in, and I would advise putting them in ortho, snap, just because when you're doing these, it starts to make them very jagged if you do not actually have ortho on. It gets a little wild and starts having these epic landings that are all zigzagged, and we don't really want that. So we'll just slap in all of our dimensions, and this one is typical. So, you could dimension it every time, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to dimension the essentials here. And granted, I'm putting most of these on the left because, obviously people read right to left. So it makes more sense to have as much data on the left side as possible. So we've got our rectangle defined. We've got all of our holes located because these are typical, and this is in the vertical direction. So now we've got to do our start of our rectangle. Got to do this circle. And notice that I'm also choosing the ends of these points, not anywhere else. That's very crucial because if you don't, you end up having your layers overlap, and that's obviously a big no-no. So keep in mind what you're doing as you're doing it. And to try to be fun, let's try a different command here. I've seen a few times this dim deck. You see that there. So what it does is it actually changes your layer style, I believe. Maybe I have to select stuff first. Let's check. Nope. Okay. I bet you what it does is it does it for a new one. Yep. Okay, so that's kind of lame. So I really don't advise using that at all then. I was trying to be cool, use something new, but yeah. All I did was create a style override. So what we want to do is change our primary units to 2 manually after, and that should fix that. It didn't. Okay. This is why you don't use overrides, needless to say. Okay, so how to fix the override? Undo a few times here. Okay. Don't do dim deck. Add stuff. So now I'm going to go in here, modify how you're supposed to do it. I can't believe the book even mentioned that. It's terrible practice. So anyway, yeah, bam. Now, I don't know if it says, it doesn't, but you should dimension your circle still. So, do that. And I'd preferably do it the right way. Put a quantity in there. 4 of those and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. Notice the formatting there. It should read quantity X and then the size. So there's exercise 4. So let's flip over and look at 6. This one is also going to be inches. Finally, we're not using a graph. It shows it, but you don't have to actually use it. I will use it just to get my location here. I kind of like 4, 4. We're just going to keep committing to that until we don't have an option there. All right, so we've got a 5x3 rectangle. If you've been doing the same as me, you should turn on your polar tracking now, or your snap tracking. The way it likes to locate everything is through center lines. So I'm going to do some generic center lines for the sake of construction. Then we know that each of these 4 circles is 1 inch. from that center, so 2 inches between. And then it's 0.5 from the center to the other part of that circle, aka 1 total. I'll delete these to make it a little more clear. These are going to be diameter of a half circles. And we'll need our intersection back on. So now I'll copy it. And paste it around. And I already deleted our center line, so we'll just offset from the outside to get these other circles. 1/2 inch, because it's 2 inches from the circle to the circle. So obviously 3 minus the 2 divided by 2 equals 1/2 inch here. And it's actually going to be 1/2 inch the other way too. Isn't that convenient? And unfortunately, I drew these circles the size of what the other one should be. So we will use 0.25 diameter circles here. And once I draw one there, I'll just move it over, I guess. Kind of inconvenient, but I haven't drawn these before. I'm just doing them on the fly. So once you get those little replacement guys in, put those in. And then we can delete out this junk. Okay. Should have noticed that. That was my bad. And instead of having to redraw this line, we're just going to use the projection here. Let it snap for us. And that is 1. Okay, so at this point in the game, you do not know what thread sizes are. But what it's calling out there is thread call out, which is why you see a second circle on top of it. You don't know anything about roots and crests and all of that. So for now, I'll just put a generic dimension of 0.375. When time comes, we'll talk all about threads and you'll understand what it would actually be. But this is a nice placeholder and it looks like it'll appear fine. So we'll change these to hidden lines because technically there is a thread in there. And you would see it as a hidden line. So a little big, but it's an easier number. I guess I could try one more just to see, but 0.3125. That'd be a little better, I guess. Okay, so take it back. Let's do 0.3125. So we'll copy it. Okay, that's better. So now we'll do center marks. We'll still use the biggest circle in this case. You always want to use the biggest. So choose the hidden lines. Okay. Now to dimension. So we want to dimension just like the book. So we'll grab these endpoints of the center marks. And let's go ahead and change the dimension values here. It appears that it varies between 1 and 2, but we'll just set a blanket value of 2. Just that'll cover everything, and we can adjust it to match after. So got the 2, and then we have 5. We have the 1 dimension, 2, 4, 3. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Okay, so what it says to do for these is to do a queue leader. Now I have one problem with that, and I'll show you just an example. So say I mention this, and I put my polar on so it looks better, and I just put a filler here. So that's cool, say I move it around, it looks decent, but you can kind of tell sometimes it don't necessarily look correct because the placement is random. You see that? It just doesn't look fluid. I mean, granted, it's ASD, but what I would rather you do in order to give some actual substance to what you're detailing is to dimension it. And then in this case, you actually retain some information too. So we can then type in drill and ream. I can't tell for spaces, but we'll see. And then we can, do alignments if needed. Let's see, it would be middle right. But, so what you get out of that is this value, like it's giving you a true value. You're not having to type it in and mess it up. You're not having to cheat the system or anything. It just is what it is. And also, placement wise, as you know, the dimension, it always stays true to that axis. So it's going to always be positioned well. So what I would rather you do instead of doing a queue leader here is to actually go in and dimension these like you would normally. And notice I'm using a dimension tool. It's kind of quick with these. But then, go ahead and just type in that information. And all you need to do is make sure you don't have this portion selected. Notice it's dark colored. When I hit left or right arrow to get away from it, it goes live. So if you're having problems with deleting it, just make sure that you aren't on it. When you edit it, by default, it's not on it. It's when you click to try to type, because you don't want to type over and then lose that dimension. That's no bueno. So we'll undo that and then type in again, drill and all caps. Don't forget. Drill and ream. And then this one has the quantity 4 times and that. And you know what? This one's also going to be middle left. And then we've got this guy. It's hard to tell. I think it's dimensioning this one. It'd actually be preferable you dimension a small one anyways, because otherwise you're going to get that 0.3125 dimension. So, drill and tap. And in case you're wondering, tap means to actually add thread into a hole. But again, we'll talk about that more later. It's just good to know what exactly it means when it's using that jargon. Let's see, do we have a space there? Add a space, okay. Actually, there's not supposed to be a space. My bad. And then when you're looking for that symbol, you just choose the symbol drop down. If you choose GDT, but I already did it. Okay, so this is the font where all these special symbols that drafter people use is going to be. We're looking for a little, there we go, that guy. So we'll select it, and then it's going to give us option down here to copy it. So then I will paste using Control V, and then type in 0.5. Now do you see what happened here? This all is Arial font. But unfortunately, this part shifted to be GDT. You have to be careful when you're putting these symbols in to keep your font the same, because you can tell it looks funny. So, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll add in these symbols after they're done typing to avoid that. But if not, make sure you're going back and changing the formatting to match this over here. You also need to change both of these to be 0.12. It's kind of a quirky thing, but you really do have to be very cautious with that, because for whatever reason, AutoCAD's just not really intuitive enough to do that on its own. So, and you know what? This one is also left center, left, whatever. And to do a little more DLC, we're going to select all the dimensions in the book here that But you know what? They all have one dimension value. But in order to prevent these from messing up, we will keep those as is, and we'll select all of those and this guy. Right click, choose precision, and change it to just 0. What that'll do is it'll give it, whole numbers like the book has it. If we change the entire thing, it would mess with our notes. So we'll just, manually adjust those. Okay, so hop on over to exercise 7. This is where the fun begins. Not this one necessarily, but the back of the book exercises are always, a little tougher. Okay, so I'll use the grid to get a placement. Let's go with 4, 4. I think I really am committed to that for life. Okay, so 2.5 over the entire width, 0.35 up. And let's see. I'm going to jump over here actually and just do the overall height of 1.7. 0.5 again, 0.35. Now we can go ahead and finish our V-cut. So snap this guy to this 45, 90, 135, 180. Make sure you're getting that perfect snap where it pops that little dotted line across. And we'll just draw it until we think it'll extend past the other slant. And the same thing. We'll trim. And it's probably a good time to go ahead and confirm, is this 90? If you're super worried that you drew it poorly, you can always put on max decimals. It'll always show more then. Okay, so now we will draw our hidden lines across. And then we have one circle that is 1 on this end, and a circle that is 2 on the same end. I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to extend these a little bit. I'm going to do it the entire length of the part, so that way it's centered though. And then we have diameter values, so this one is 0.58. This one is 0.38. And then we need some fillets of 0.25. Oops. Okay. First and foremost, let's delete these just so they're not in the way. Let's trim. Make sure to get this little guy. Sneaky, I tell ya. Alright, let's put in our center marks. And let's dimension it. Alright, so again, we'll match the book. So we've got this value. Oh, you know what? I did a radius earlier. My mistake. So, I tend to use the repeat command. But if you use repeat on a diameter circle, unfortunately, it reproduces it as a radius. It's a common mistake, and you think that I would have gotten used to it, but I'm really just waiting for AutoCAD to fix that problem. It does the same thing with a tan radius even. If you hit the space bar to repeat, it'll actually make a radius circle. Like, it's definitely not helpful, but what can you do? Okay, so anyway, slapping in dimensions. And let's go ahead and change this again. Our primary unit amount, we'll change it to 2 decimals to match the book. Alright, so we'll place this dimension for the third time. Yeah, this would be a great option for the baseline dimension, but I'll leave that to you to decide when to apply that knowledge. And then we've got this. It's convenient when it fits in that little bracket area too. Alright, so we'll slap in an angle dimension. See, what do we need? Radius. Make sure you're putting a quantity here. Alright, so that's it for that one. So next one's on the same page, so that's pretty cool. But this one's metric, so keep that in mind. I guess we'll do 40-40. It's got to be pretty similar, right? No, wouldn't be. Let's do 100-100 then. Turn off the grid. I'm just going to make the full box, I think, but we'll see. So I'll start up with that left corner, 56, and then 52 minus 14, I believe is 38. Let's see. That is 38. Yes, we'll do 38. And then, unfortunately, we don't know that height yet, so we will jump back over to this corner. I can click it and do 52 over, 37 up, and we will trim off the crosses. Alright, and I'm actually going to extend this. I should have thought of that. That's okay. And now we will go ahead and make that little circle, which is 24 from this end and 10 from the other. And that is a diameter of 9. We have a radius of 28. So it appears that we're going to trim it here and here. Delete off the rest of this. Then we're going to have a horizontal line here. Trim off that. We can delete our circle location marks. Yeah, that's pretty much it actually. So put in that center mark. This is one of those where you'll have to kind of manipulate it a bit, but technically what it's doing in this case is it shows it extend to here. So I would have probably just went the full length, but it's fine. We'll try to make it look more like the book here. So, yeah, let's put some dimensions on this bad boy. That's this one way out here. I kind of like the idea of this being aligned, It looks a little more tidy when you zoom out and you see this is beside it, so. Okay, let's see what's next. Boy, this next one is a doozy, actually. We'll still do a B. I don't know if we'll be able to commit to this, but let's try 3 of 3. 4 of 4, I mean. Alright, so first and foremost, it's 4.88 over. Then we're going to have a bunch of offsets, so let's just get into it. 0.38 for the majority portion here, the little closed-in shape. I'm gonna close my door real quick. Stupid fire alarm. So I'll go ahead and close it out because it's going to get convoluted pretty quick. Then we're going to locate the slot, and from that same edge is 1. So there's the first end of the slot, and from that slot line to the next is the other end of the slot. And then we have the overall height of the part, which is 2.38, which is again from the bottom line. Alright. So now I'm going to go ahead and just drag this guy up and close it out. That way we don't have redundant lines. I'm going to leave this guy here because, you know, obviously we've got that slant. And I know this is going to get complicated quick, so we'll just draw the slots over here as we go and then try to do something about these lines in the middle. So first we have offset the center line of this slot, which is 0.63. And I'm going to skip the holes for now and do the next slot's offset. It's 1.37 from the last one. The slots are 0.44 in width, so that means that it's a diameter value of 0.44. So I'll grab this one, copy it, do the other slot position. Once we have this one drawn, we'll copy it to the other slot position. And we might as well detail it first, that way we don't have to do all that again. So we'll go ahead and do our center marks. I know they're hard to see, but that's okay. We'll get there with that. Let's see where the other one goes. Yeah, okay, cool. You'll be able to see a little bit more of what I was doing after we move it. I can delete away the rest. Make sure you've got the center marks connected too, though. And we will do a copy. Okay, so we can delete that. There we go. Okay, so you can see now what I did was actually grab the endpoint. I had to pull it closer anyway. Might be kind of hard without moving the snaps, but you know, I positioned it to touch the other point basically. So basically just like that. Alright, so now we can go back and put those holes in. 1.25 over. And 1 on the bottom. Didn't realize it actually shares the same lines as the center line. Okay, well that's convenient. So there we go. Now holes dimension is on the far right because we have multiple of the same size. So they're going to be 4 times diameter of 0.3. Oop. Okay, so we'll copy it. Delete off that guy. Add in the center marks. Alright, so next, 2.63 from that left side will be the ending of this face. And And then we have to offset 3 from that same side. And then it appears we need to trim here and here. Now it's starting to look like something, so we'll just go ahead and connect the dot here. Trim that. Now this part is very crucial that you do it in the method that I'm going to do it. So in order to keep everything aligned to this edge, you have to offset. If you don't offset, as I've been doing with every one of these, probably not going to get them right. So keep that in mind. So up first we have 0.3 from this line that we need to offset. And then it's kind of tricky, but what we need to do is draw a line perpendicular to this line. Trying to see if there's a foolproof way to do this without confusing everybody. You know what I think would be a good method actually would be just copy this or rotate. Well, yeah, let's rotate it. You know, it's gonna be hard to get a perfect way otherwise. Okay, so what we need to do is basically say 90 degrees. So I think it's gonna be I don't know if it'll do minus 90. It did. Perfect. Okay. So minus 90 will rotate it exactly where it is. So I just chose a base point and then minus 90. And just to make sure it's perpendicular, because that's crucial to this step. Good dimension there. Change of precision. I mean, obviously we knew, but just to be safe in your case, we have that line now. So now from there, let's see. Man, there's a lot. Okay, so let's do the small hole first on the top. It's going to be offset of 0.77. And then let's do the next one. It'll be 1.37. That same first line. Oh, it's actually 9.7. I was wrong. Okay, so let's do those holes. I'm actually just going to copy it all. Definitely a fan of the old work smarter, not harder concept. So we'll commit to that, and we'll rotate these in a minute. Okay, so we can go ahead and delete that part out to make room for this slot. So now it's going to be 1.37 offset. Then we need to offset 0.69 from this edge to the other end of the slot. Actually, no. From this slot mark. This slot's a little smaller, so it's a diameter of 3. Be very careful. If you notice, it was trying to snap to the midpoint. Zoom in, you need that intersection right beside the midpoint in this case. So the diameter 0.3. We'll copy that. Same deal, be careful if it's snapping to the wrong thing. If you turned perpendicular on earlier, turn that back off. It's useless. Okay. So this is one of those where you're really going to have to be mindful of your snaps again. So we'll trim off this, that, and this. We can go ahead and ditch all of this actually. So we will slap in our center marks. I know we're about to rotate all of this. You need it to be aligned. So let's see. Let's test a good way to go about that. Let's do this as a base point, and let's do maybe reference. Well, let's see. Is this exactly? If it's perfectly like a 45, we won't have to worry about something like that. Nope. Okay. So let's do a reference rotation. Bad example. Okay. So what we'll do is this line, the vertical part, and then we will choose this midpoint over here. So what it did was it basically said that this portion should be aligned to that dot that I chose. So we'll do it again. Basically, I'm going to choose the base point. I'm going to choose reference, and I will choose 2 points, basically midpoint to the top, and then I'm going to choose this point. Then I can just extend one to meet the other. Okay, so instead of redoing these, I'm actually just going to copy them. They're all aligned, obviously. So we'll copy one of these before we extend it. Paste it in. Paste it in. Now note, these should all be in line with each other. Notice how when I extend these, is one continuous line. That's why it's essential for you to offset, because they're supposed to be in line. But anyway, I'll extend this guy. And we finished drawing it, but now we've got to detail it, so. I'm definitely going to change the decimal places. Looks like we can do two decimal places, so let's do that. Alright, so we've got 0.63 dimension. And then we've got 1.25 dimension. You know, I didn't realize it's laddered perfect. So we actually could have done a baseline here. That's okay. Pretty quick to dimension them still. You know, if you want, I think I'm going to do it. You can actually go ahead and extend these lines as well, just to show that everything's in line. Because see, the thing is, technically, yes, you can tell that because there's only one dimension, but it's nice to know, like, hey, these are clearly all tied to the same dimension value. It's just a little tidier in my opinion, but you know, there's a little creative freedom with drafting. As long as they can get there in the end, you know. Alright, so there's that. Before I forget about this corner, let's go ahead and do the slot and holes. So now it does just say, you know, like 2 times our slot. Why would you not give that information if you have it? Let's keep that. Let's say 2 times that, 2 slots. You know, never withhold information if you have it, by all means. Like, the more the merrier for people when they're trying to make this. Okay, so then we have 0.44 dim. And we'll jump over here. So this is where we're going to learn a cool little thing called dim break, actually. This is going to be a bit of a pain to detail because everything's slotted, so you have to use a line, or angled, so you have to use an aligned dimension. So first and foremost, we'll do this one. to this one. Granted, you're going to have to kind of use some projection too and get intersections. It's going to be a bit of a pain, but you know, it's fine. Make sure you get an intersection there, and obviously if your dimensions don't match the book, you've either drawn it wrong or you've detailed it wrong. So make it match. Make it match. I'll pull this up a little bit. It's a little convoluted in here, so a little more room never hurts. One thing I'm not a big fan of with AutoCAD is it tends to not be great at dimension spacing. Okay, so then we also have this value given here. And it's clearly not going to be very tidy, but what can you really do? So we could shift this over a bit. Okay, cool. So it's the next ones that end up needing to be dim broken. You'll see what I mean. So we've got first and foremost from this center point to the intersection here. If it finds it, come on. Sometimes you really got to work with this projection. Makes me wonder if I've got my angle right. Dude, what the heck? I don't want to snap to it whatsoever. But yeah, that's right. Okay. We'll just start from here. Okay. So we've got the 0.3. Then we have don't be fooled by that midpoint. That's not what we need. I'm just going to turn it off for the sake of not messing up. Okay, so we've got the second one down here. Forgot it's from here to here. Oh no, maybe we won't need the dim break. Oh, okay, we do. There it is. Yeah. See that blue overlap? So let's go ahead and fix that. Same with here. So what happens is sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to dimension here to here, and you end up with this line cutting through all kinds of stuff. But obviously we don't want that. So what you do is you type in dim break. Choose the dimension you want to break. And then you can try different things, but most of the time in something like this, you need to choose manual. So what you're going to do is choose the endpoint of the center mark, as it's kind of hard to see. But then I'm just going to choose to the end of that dimension. So what it does is it breaks it. In this case, it didn't burn enough, but I think that's because we have two on top of each other. So as you see, this one needs breaking. The other one actually did break to the end of that center mark. The perk of that is it keeps that little gap that you're supposed to have between stuff. So let's go ahead and do another one. We'll break this dimension up here, and we're going to choose manual, and we'll choose the end of the part, what appears to be, I don't know, something like this, the end of the line. So now it deletes it. It leaves that little gap in between, even though it may not be very easy to see. And we'll do that again. Choose this dimension again, manual, and choose the end of the center mark to the center of that center mark. Cool. So now we only need to do one more. This guy, manual. Okay, so now you don't have that line overlap. It looks a lot tidier, and obviously it's correct in that form. So, so now all we need is an overall width. Now you see why they put these dimensions so far out. A little heavy. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. We got plenty of room, so why not, you know? It's about right there. a little bit higher. So then we dimension this radius. What the heck, right? Might as well leave that information there. We'll just do 2 times. Then we will dimension this. That's going to be 4 times. Now granted, you know, we ended up with quite a bit of room, so I'm gonna play with these. I thought maybe we had some more dimensions, but I like to keep a little more breathing room between left side and right side stuff. So like, you know, when you're looking over here, you see this, but you kind of ignore this guy. And this has decent enough space, so that should be fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. So up next we have exercise 10. It's also inches. We'll start with 4, 4. All right, so what we're given here is the part that, you know, they've clearly got ladder dimension, and, you know, there's gonna be a lot of offset. So I'm gonna draw a center line here. That's what this is. Obviously, I'll replace it with an actual center line later, but for representation's sake, I'm gonna draw it out. Okay, so first we have 0.5 to the outside both ways, and I need to change my layer. Okay, so I can go ahead and close it. This is the outer shape. Okay, so then do 0.75 divided by 2. Get our next set. Then we're going to go ahead and offset one more time. 0.25. One pain in the butt part about using the center line there at the beginning. But that's a little convoluted, but you get the idea. We've got our 3 different sizes. Then we'll do offset of 0.5. Offset of 0.63. Offset of 0.88. And we don't need the rest. So now we can just trim. So we know this part is the thinnest. We know that this is here. We can kind of just quickly trim, and we'll clean up the rest in a minute, obviously. Okay, so this portion, you know, is full size. You know that this portion is that. Yeah, now we're starting to get a little something. We can delete this, that guy. Let's add in our center line the proper way. Adjust the grips. Alright, now we can go ahead and detail it. You may be thinking, how are we going to get that weird looking bracketing in those arrows? We'll get there. But we'll go ahead and do the baseline dimensions first. We're actually going to use that command this time, because why not, you know? So there's the 0.5. And it looks like we can get away with 2 decimal value precision, so, you know, we'll go ahead and change that again. Alright, so, baseline. Just going to go through, click the rest of these. There we go. Okay. Obviously, that's pretty quick once you get the hang of using the tool. unfortunately that one doesn't quite fit, but it's fine. If you notice it doesn't have the diameter symbol in there, we're going to go back and actually add that. So before I mentioned, you can go through and you can hit other and you can find more, but you can also find in here diameter. So you can either click it and then click out, or you can even type in, you hold shift, type in percent and type C. It'll automatically convert it. So that's pretty cool too. So it depends on your preference, but I do kind of like percent C. So once we've got those, we can manipulate this one, move it somewhere where it looks a little better. Oops. If you're having problems getting this position right, you can usually click on the part and then right click it. I think maybe it's hover. Yeah, hover, and then you can say move text only, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay, that's what happens when you have polar on. It gets weird. So we'll do a different one now. Move with dim line? No. Move with leader. There we go. Okay, so basically what I did was I reoriented it using that. Then I'm going to space these out a little bit. Something like that, just because they're on top of each other. You want it to be kind of legible. Not that this is super legible actually, but now it is. Okay, so now for the tough part, huh? Really not too bad actually. So you get this little guy if you choose in the drop down from dimensions. I think it's called datum identifier. Okay, tolerance. You get this, and basically what you're doing is you're actually building tolerances in whatever form you need. So in this one, we've got 0.012, and then we've got I didn't mean to choose material condition. I want one. If you can choose to not have it. There we go. So somewhere in here we should have a spot to choose our actual datum identifier. Let's see. Oh, right here. Okay, so that's going to be B. And I need to choose a location. That didn't work out very well. I think there's a way to do that where it actually puts the arrow on it, but we'll see. Either way, I don't like that it's currently showing down here. So we'll do that again, choosing our symbol, typing in 0.012. In order to keep it how it is, it might be easier just to put it over here. Let's do that. There we go. And I guess we'll have to add a leader somehow. Let's see. I was hoping to be able to snap it. Let's see. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, so it didn't stay together, but I can't say I use these a lot. But basically, I chose a leader and I chose a point on it. That's fine, like it's still not perfect. But if you want it to be positioned a little better, there's probably a better way. And if you have one, definitely post it in the comments. I'll gladly do a rectification of this. So next we need a special leader style to do those little flags. So I'm going to hit new to copy the current one. We'll just call it datum identifier. And we've got to change a few things. That's okay. I'll rename it in a minute. So datum triangle filled we need to change. We need to cut off the landing, and then frame the text. I believe that's it. There we go. Alright, so let's close this. And I'm going to make sure datum identifier is on. Choose this endpoint. Actually, you know what? You have to choose above the endpoint because we're kind of doing this in a wonky way, but it works out pretty well. Actually, I was wrong again. So go up from it to the right. Make sure you get that 90. Dang it. Oh, you know what? They just do a random line. That's why. It's up to you if you want the line. I'll do a line just for the sake of explaining. But you know, so we would have like a 1/2 inch line, and then we would have a leader that starts over here, next there. I would type in A. Here it is from this end. Where is my fill? Yeah, where is this guy? Okay, we'll do this one more time. That's fine. Apparently it doesn't like it if you do it the other way, so we'll just have it like that. Not that I like it, but ignoring me whenever I try to do it from the line that I made. Okay, so then we'll do from here, B. It's just hideous, but that's fine. I'm really surprised it doesn't work with a line. I'm going to try that one more time just out in space here. What? Now I did it. Okay, fine. We'll do this one more time. I refuse to do it that way. To 0.5. From this guy, 0.5. Maybe it needs more room. Yeah, okay, so you can see when you pull it, it starts to pop up room. So you got to have enough area for it to actually squeeze in. Okay, learning experience, you know? Alright, so there's those. And let's see if we can't flip this. Heck yeah, okay, so we flipped it. Gets it out of the way. Alright, so that's it for that one. Let's do exercise 11. Looks like this will be the last one. Metric. So we'll start at like 100, 100. It's going to be 86 overall. 56 the other way, so we'll just do 28 and 28. So there's our ellipse. And then we have from that center, our circle starts here. It's diameter of 36. And we've got a hexagon. Oh, I was looking for the option. I just had to choose the side still. Okay. So we've got the center. And then we're looking for circumscribed or inscribed. So what it's showing is a 20. So basically that should mean that this is circumscribed because the flat is what's tangent to the circle. You know, like in this case, that would be 20. It might be inscribed. That's okay. So let's just try and see. It is inscribed. I'm not gonna lie, I still get them confused. Basically, what it means is one of them is inside the circle, and one of them runs the circumference of the circle. But you know, in this case, we actually need one that's inside. The match is 20. Son of a biscuit eater. Maybe it is circumscribed. Heck, let's just draw a circle in here. Easier to be safe. Okay. 6. Center point. Circumscribed. There. That should be 20. Okay, so I was right to begin with. I was just doing some user error there. Guilty. Alright. So then from the bottom quadrants of these ellipses, draw a circle with a radius of 47.5. That's going to be where the circle passes into this area. Just going to trim part and delete the rest. Okay. And then we have from this center, that's where the next circle will be. A diameter of 8. And a radius of 10. So we can go ahead and trim this portion out, the circles from earlier. Delete this, this. You can actually just start to delete all kinds of stuff. Just to simplify a bit. Alright, so next let's put in some tan radius circles. So we have one here and here. They're going to be 6. And same for here. This side on the wrong side. Weird. There we go. Sometimes you just got to choose the right part first, you know. Alright, so then we need ones that are a size of 3 here. And yeah, so now we can put in our center marks and detail. I don't think it'll work for a regular one of these, unfortunately. I wonder if we can do a center line on it, though. Nope. Okay, so this is one of those times where, yeah, you don't really have a choice. You just gotta manually draw in a center mark. Is this metric? Yeah. So let's do 1.25. You know, usually it's 0.125 roughly, I believe. So metric, we'll just do 10 times that. So we'll do 1.25. We'll just grab this grip and shift it over. We'll do the same here. Alright, let's dimension this bad boy. We've got 20. 33. 36. 20. 56. I'm gonna put this one right here. Seems like a decent spot. Make sure to put your 2 times in here. Oh. Okay. Okay, so then we've got this one, which is also 2 times. Two times. Yeah, I'm just going to put these on the outside because I don't know why. This one, I guess, is a little easier to put. AutoCAD's kind of finicky with placement, but okay, so I believe that's it. Let me just double check. Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a good one.